The Benko Gambit, named for GM Pal Benko, is a popular opening. However, it is a bit unusual as gambits go. Black, not white, gives up a pawn for long-term positional compensation. Someone who plays the Benko is not looking for a quick, sharp, tactical knockout, but instead is trying to wear down their opponent. But wait, there's more. I've got an intriguing chess puzzle waiting for all of you. Be sure to stick around until the end to enjoy the complete experience. The Benko Gambit starts with white playing d4, and black responding with a knight to f6. White then plays c4, gaining space on the queenside. Black challenges white's control of the center by playing c5, offering a pawn. If white captures this pawn, black can recapture with e6 or e5. However, white usually chooses not to take the pawn and instead pushes forward with d5, advancing further into black's territory, seizing more space, and making it more challenging for black to develop their pieces effectively. With white's pawn on d5 supported by the pawn on c4, black decides to challenge the base of this pawn's structure by playing b5. This move attacks the c4 pawn and introduces the Benko Gambit, which arises from the Benoni defense. Initially, black offered a pawn on c5, which white declined, and now black offers another pawn on b5. White has two options: capture the pawn or play something else. If white decides to accept the gambit by capturing the pawn, this is called the Benko Gambit half accepted, as white has accepted one pawn. Black may then offer another pawn on a6. If white captures this pawn as well, it becomes the fully accepted version of the Benko Gambit. Black's strategy is to allow this capture so that, after white takes the pawn, black can recapture it with the bishop, developing the bishop on a strong diagonal aimed at white's kingside. White continues by developing the knight to c3, and black plays g6 to fianchetto the bishop on the long diagonal. White then strengthens the d5 pawn with the move e4. In many cases, black may capture white's light-squared bishop, aiming to disrupt white's castling rights. However, if you're playing as white against the Benko Gambit, you don't need to worry too much about this. After black offers another pawn with b5 in the Benko Gambit, white can choose to decline further material by pushing the g-pawn to g3, eventually moving the king to g2 for safety. Meanwhile, black might play d6 to solidify the pawn chain, and white responds with g3. Black develops the bishop to g7 and prepares to castle, while white's king moves to g2, ensuring safety. White can continue developing their pieces, while black typically castles and develops the knight to f3, and then to d7. White then plays a4 to challenge black's queenside presence, and black may respond with moves like queen to a5, focusing on activity on the queenside. White can continue with rook to e1, enhancing the control of the board and activating the rook. Black responded with rook to b8, and white played bishop to e2. In this scenario, the reason black played the Benko Gambit becomes clear. Black seeks active play on the queenside, utilizing the semi-open files to exert pressure and create attacking opportunities. However, white, having gained a pawn, retains a solid advantage. White's plan includes counterattacks, such as if black captures a pawn, white can respond with nb5, attacking the queen and closing the b-file for the rook. This sequence puts white in a strong position with a clear initiative in the game. Let's revisit a few moves. We saw that if white captures the pawn, it leads to the Benko Gambit half accepted, and if white also captures the pawn on a6, it becomes the Benko Gambit fully accepted. But what happens if white decides not to capture the pawn on b5? The most popular response from white in this case is to develop the knight to f3, focusing on development, and not worrying about the pawn. If black captures the pawn on c4, white can then play knight c3, defending the pawn on d5 and preparing to play e4, which strengthens the center and opens up the diagonal for the bishop to eventually capture the c4 pawn. However, black typically does not capture the pawn on c4. Instead, black often plays b4, gaining more space on the queenside and preventing white's knight from developing to c3. White can then develop the knight to d2. Black continues with g6 to fianchetto the bishop, and white responds with e4, forming a strong central pawn chain. Black might then play d6, solidifying their pawn structure, and white develops the bishop to d3 and the knight to d7. White can challenge the advanced b4 pawn with a3, aiming to disrupt black's pawn chain by attacking its head. Black usually avoids capturing on a3 to maintain control over the b4 square, and continues developing with moves like bishop g7. White can then capture on b4, and after black recaptures, develop the knight to b3. Black may strengthen the pawn structure with a5. Both players typically castle, resulting in a balanced position with equal chances for both sides. The game continues with both sides having strategic options, and the position remains rich with possibilities. Now, it's time for a puzzle. In the given position, it's white's turn, and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments, and let's see how many of you can solve it correctly. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with future videos. Take a moment to check out the other videos appearing on your screen right now. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care and peace.